Yo, before we jump into this meat event breakdown, real quick shout out to our latest subs, Bob Benzie and Johnny Cardone. Appreciate you grilling with the boys. This video is actually our 100th video all time, so appreciate the OG meat boys that have been grilling with us throughout. Smash that subscribe button if you're looking for locks and laughs, because that's all we're bringing at Meat Boy MMA. There's honestly no need to contextualize this one. You know how we got here. You know what this fight's all about. It's the Eagle, Khabib Nurmagomedov, taking on Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Who you got, Meat Boy, and how do you see this one going down?
Yeah, I mean, this is just such an insane fight. It is so hard to go against Khabib. I mean, it's easier to ask, who hasn't he beat, because he's beaten everybody except for Justin Gaethje, which is what we're gonna find out. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Justin Gaethje, and for multiple reasons. But the first one is gonna be Justin really hasn't lost any fights but two. Well, he hasn't lost any fights but two, and that was Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. And both those fights were neck and neck. He had them rocked, they had him rocked, and if he fought the way he fought versus Tony Ferguson, I think he mauls Dustin and Eddie 10 times out of 10. And it seems that Justin is stopped being a walking sack of meat and weathering the storm on people where they can't take it but he can, and he's being a more tactical, smart fighter. And let's not even get into that he's a next level wrestler that we've never even seen wrestle. He's at one of the highest levels of college wrestling. Well, he was an all-American, an absolute savage, and he hasn't even needed to or relied on that skill of his. He's just shown that he can stand and bang. I think he's got it way better advantage on the feet than Khabib, but Khabib, people sleep on his standing game, and it's been looking better and better. I mean, we saw him knock out, or not knock out, but we saw him knock down Conor McGregor, who people thought and still probably think as one of the best strikers to ever be in the UFC, and Khabib dropped him. So it's going to be a great stand-up fight. But I think Justin has that right recipe of grit and toughness and skill to defend Khabib, but also be able to knock him out with his power.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of good stuff there. You talked about the wrestling pedigree of Gaethje. It's super interesting that we haven't even seen his wrestling prowess throughout his MMA career so far. But like you mentioned, All-American in Northern Colorado. He was a multiple-time state champion in Arizona, where high school wrestling is no joke out there. So he's got a solid base. He's a born-bred wrestler, and so it's going to be very interesting to see how it stacks up against Khabib, because with Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's one of those rare fighters where you know exactly what he's going to do, yet you still can't do anything about it. So very curious to see how Gaethje's wrestling stacks up against Khabib's. You also mentioned Gaethje's previous bouts with Dustin and Eddie Alvarez, and you're so right. He was such a more reckless version of himself back then, and he was just a straight up slab sacker, Rocky style. He was just a slab of meat, like you mentioned, taking punches, Homer Simpson style. So I think he's way more technical now, and it's just clearly less reckless. And it's going to be interesting to see how that new measured stand-up approach translates and manifests itself in this matchup for sure. You're going with Gaethje. How do you think Gaethje's going to get this done? Do you think he's going to grind out a decision, or is he turning Khabib's lights off? The question just sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but how's he going to do it if you're really going with the highlight?
Yeah, I think honestly, Gaethje's either going to get it done round one, knockout, or he's going to win by decision on the feet.
Very interesting. Yeah, the community is 70% going with Khabib. Very interesting. Most think it's going to be a submission, which I think is kind of interesting. But Gaethje 30%. Majority is Brown. They think Gaethje's getting the KO if he gets the job done. Man, it's impossible, like you said, to pick against Khabib Nurmagomedov, but I'm with you. I think Gaethje's going to get this job done. I think he's got that rare combination of the skill set required and the mindset required if you're going to take out a guy like Khabib Nurmagomedov. Gaethje's just straight up locked in. You talked about his performance against Tony Ferguson, where he just looked unbeatable in that fight. And like you mentioned, if he shows up with that same level of focus, that same level of technical striking, and has the wrestling game to thwart Khabib's style, I think Gaethje's the one that's gonna get Nurmagomedov the one. So very interesting. We like Justin Gaethje as a plus 260 juicy meat underdog, but you're going against Khabib Nurmagomedov. So if you're ultimately deciding to protect your wallets on this one, no shame in that. Any last thoughts on this meat event? Any last thoughts on this 100th video? What do you got, Meat Boy?
No, super excited that it is our 100th video. Excited, you know, we're pulling up almost on 50 subscribers, so we appreciate all of you guys. But yeah, keep hitting that freaking like button. Share it to the other sweaty meat boys that you know that like MMA breakdowns, and smash that subscribe button. Truly appreciate it. I hope you guys are as pumped as we are for this cart, and keep grilling, keep chilling, meat boys.